Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Irish Bill with Seminole Bob. Yeah, it's this guy next to me. Week 4, Bob. Where's the time gone?
Really.
Even though it's only been 2 games for Navarre.
Right.
They did miss the 1 week, but we're heading into week 4 already of the high school football season. Not a whole lot of surprises so far. I mean, yes, Milton did take out Navarre for the first time since 2009 and the first time with Jay Walls as head coach.
Yeah, that was kind of a tough one to swallow. You just felt the momentum in the fourth quarter kind of turned Navarre's way, and then lightning strike. We gave Milton too much time, and heck, we even interfered with the receiver on the fantastic catch in double coverage, and he still caught the dang ball. So,
yeah, that was one heck of a catch.
Yeah, it was.
But I did go back and I watched the game last night to break down and see how close my stats were. Pretty close on the Milton side of things. Still waiting on the Navarre side of things to compare. But the first touchdown was not a catch. The young man, you could definitely see the ball hit the ground. And the official standing right there just totally blew it. During the game, we couldn't see it from our angle because we were about as far away from the play as it could be. But I went back and watched the film. Unfortunately, it went against Navarre. They still dropped the contest for the first time since 2009. They lost to Milton. Jay Wall's first loss to Milton. But they got to get back on the horse, get back on the saddle, and get ready for Tate. First district game of the season coming up Friday night.
Doesn't matter how many games you win, it's which ones.
That's right.
And a district game is, I think Tate is going to not be happy that Navarre lost to Milton. Speaking of the catch that was or wasn't, in Florida high school, I believe in the semifinals and finals, when they're in a bigger stadium, they do have review.
That they do.
Yeah. So I know the TV station did have a camera in the end zone, and I'm sure they caught the.
Well, the only reason I first noticed it was that was immediately what the broadcaster on TV said was, "Oh, that's not a catch." And I was like, I went back and I rewound it a couple of times, and he was right. But one thing though that Navarre's got to improve on though is they got to get some scoring in the first half. The slow starts against Fort Walton Beach, they were only up by 1, and they didn't score until about 2 minutes to go in the first half. Didn't score at all in the first 3 quarters against Milton. So they got to get the offense going. We saw some good things out of Chambers. One thing I've noticed, though, I don't know if you've noticed, so I'm going to throw this out there. He is quick to gallop. He is quick to take off even because there was a couple times that he had wide receivers early on in the first half where he just took off and ran. So what he's got to do, he's getting more comfortable, though, as we saw as the game went on Friday night. He's getting more comfortable. He's going to his receivers, but his receivers also have to step up and make the catches when it's thrown to them.
Absolutely, and Navarre's got to draw up some plays where they've got a relief valve for him. Perhaps a back blocks, stays in and blocks and then releases, or have a tight end block and release to give him an outlet valve, because once you got outside the tackles, even with Milton's speed, Navarre was fairly successful. But back to your point about the
Joe Settle checking in said, "How about those Razorbacks?" You got it, Joe. You did predict it.
Mercy.
Woo pig suey.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a quarterback? No, Daddy. Do you want to be a running back? No, Daddy. What do you want to be? I want to be a Razorback.
And hats off to them. What a game by Arkansas.
Yep.
We don't mind Texas getting beat around here.
We both picked Texas. And
yeah, we did.
Joe,
so that's one we got to take the L on. But sometimes taking the L doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah, and hats off to Arkansas. That was an old Southwest Conference
Big 8 matchup too. Old Big 8.
I said so. Yeah, Big 8.
Southwest. Yeah, both. They've been known by both.
Emotional game. Back then, gosh, those two teams played usually for championships. But question is Arkansas back on the map?
Well, one question I want to throw out there, since you're kind of a Florida State fan, is letting go of Sam Pittman. He was at Florida State once, was he not?
Who's that?
Sam Pittman, or did he come from Georgia?
Yes.
He came from Georgia. That's right. I got my schools mixed up. But that's maybe a guy that Florida State could have possibly looked at. Instead, they went with Norvell. I still think Norvell is going to get it done. He's got them turning in the right direction. Now they're in ball games. They just have to learn how to finish ball games. But back to the Friday night game, you were talking about Navarre and their consistency on offense.
Yeah, certainly as the competition gets stiffer, as we head into tougher games like Niceville, a road game at Leon. Not that Leon was all impressive last week, but
they took a beating.
Oh man, a thumping.
Florida High though is pretty darn impressive this year. Already played 4 games. They're 4-0 on the season.
We can't have slow starts against good teams. Then
especially on the road.
And then you get too predictable. And then the defensive, the front 4, front 3, and the linebackers can pin their ears back and come in, because if you're playing from behind, most teams will throw the ball and certainly not run the ball. So,
well, I had Navarre 8 of 21 passing, and they need to work and improve on that for only 81 yards. And the running game's still there, 165 yards on 29 carries. Another solid night for Krista Cord, our offensive player of the game. A big run by Sebastian Melendez late there to get the Raiders in for their second score. Kyle Chambers on the 5-yard run to put the Raiders their only lead of the night. And they got the ball back, but just couldn't get it done, couldn't complete the comeback. And hats off to Milton. They that quarterback that they have up there and the wide receiver, Cottrell. You got Emory Williams and Cottrell, both juniors. And I'm going to dislike to see this team next year when they come to Navarre, because both those young men will be seniors. And that's quite a tandem they have there. And the other sophomore or junior wide receiver, number 3, was quite impressive as well, Traylon Carnegie.
Yes, whenever they wouldn't throw to the big man, he was the inside guy, and they ran the slant on us. I don't know how many times. So always something to improve on, and Navarre has got on both sides of the football some area to grow into, and
the running back Devin Rich. 5'11", 215. I mean, he's solid, only a junior as well. So they're basically their 4 weapons on offensive side of the ball are all juniors. I believe Carnegie's a junior as well. They all are juniors, and so look for promising things for Milton next year in the 22 season. But Navarre, getting back to Navarre, the running game was solid. They had a few holding penalties that they need to clean up. I believe they had 4 on the night. And one of them came at a very inconvenient time after DeCourt had a big run to set up the Raiders into Milton territory. It was all negated by a holding penalty and moved the Raiders back into the Milton side of the field, and kind of washed out their drive.
You saw the air just kind of come out of the team on that particular drive after that holding penalty.
But it will be interesting to see how Coach Walls comes back from his first loss to Milton. First loss, he's still, 83-23. You can't ask for much more out of Coach Walls than what he's done. But, he's pretty, he likes perfection. And I know we cannot achieve perfection, but we can always strive for perfection. And hopefully we'll see a different Raider team come out on the field Friday night at home.
Great coaches hate losing. And I'm sure Jay had a long night. Not as long of a night as Mike Norvell may have had the next day.
Gosh. we'll talk about that as we get it closer to our college picks. We had some high school picks last week, and but the Raiders ended up with 246 yards of offense. Milton ended up with just about 283 yards of offense, mainly through the air. And Emory Williams had quite a night, 13-26, 194, and 2 touchdowns. He was our Ian Lockwood player of the game. Our defensive players of the game are Devin Wright and Max Smith. What a big game for Max Smith. 2 sacks on the night.
Yep. Nice performance. Just when you think, okay, let's keep our eye on this number 5, then you've got another punch up front to, we pressure-wise, I would say it was okay, and the sack certainly helped in big moments, but secondary needs to step up and.
They shut down Cottrell early.
They did.
Had Derek Percival back there along with Deuce Ned. They kind of spelled each other at times. Sometimes both of them were on him. But one thing I noticed about Cottrell is that if you shut off the outside lane to him, he cuts across the middle. And if you get the ball to him in space, he is going to eat you alive.
Yeah, I think their success started when they were getting frustrated, either with bad throws or drop balls. They put Cottrell in the backfield and ran him as a running back, and a couple times they threw passes on just a circle route out of the backfield. And so that and that kind of I know at least one time they got a big first down off that. So anyway, this is a statement game coming up. Navarre
Julie
needs to
Prevet checking in with us on our show tonight.
Who's that?
On my phone, Julie Prevet.
Oh, yeah.
And she's asking how we're
Hello?
doing. They've been out in Colorado, hiking through the mountains in Colorado this past week. So I actually asked them if they wanted to play golf on Sunday, but it was kind of hard when they were in Colorado and I'm here.
You would have to hit first.
Most definitely. I would love to be hitting out in Colorado because maybe my ball might go a little bit further out there in that thin air. But, you can always, yes, your head's down for taking a loss, but you can always learn from your losses. And I think that's one thing that Navarre haven't lost back-to-back games in a couple of years.
Right.
They had a stretch there in 19 where they lost 3 in a row. But other than that, there hasn't been 2-game losing streaks at Navarre much over the last 10 years since Coach Walls. In fact, they have not had a losing season since 2009.
And I'm sure Coach Walls told his crew, we can't look past Tate. We can't. This is one game at a time, and let's learn from this loss. And I think it will help some of the younger players too.
And Tate's been having a little trouble scoring. They scored 9 in their opening win against Pensacola, 9-0.
Right.
And then last week they got shut out by Gulf Breeze, 14-0. So not 2 weeks ago they got shut out by Gulf Breeze, and Gulf Breeze put up some points against Northview, but that was expected. They put up a 50 spot on Northview in that game, but Northview scored 33 on them. But going into this game, it's district game, and Coach says, yes, those wins are important in out-of-district games, but when we get to districts play, that's when the focus has to come into play. And they're actually going to the Denver Broncos game this weekend. Lucky them.
Nice.
But they'll be ready for this Friday night. And, well, this is going to wrap up our first segment as we recap the score from last week. Milton on top 18-13 in the contest. They proved it 2-1. Navarre falls to 1-1. We're going to head out to commercial break, and we'll be back with segment 2 of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports with Seminole Bob and Irish Bill. We'll be right back, folks.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track, whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Welcome back to segment 2 of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We're here at Culver's in downtown Navarre on a very, very
moist
night.
5 to 6 inches, I understand. Hard to get into my neighborhood. Gonna have to get a hold of the Santa Rosa County Public Works Department, who said they fixed the drainage issues on the main street here, Ortega.
And
I about had to use oars to get to my house.
Wow. And that's not Bobby Orr either.
He was a great hockey player.
Yes, he was. The Orr family.
Him and Espo.
Yeah. Phil Esposito. Man, gosh, we get off track rather easy, don't we? But we love sports. We love all sports. Are we talking sports here?
Today's weather is brought to you by
Seminole Bob.
Yeah.
But no, that's we already went over that. We recapped the game. Now it's time to move on, and we come up to that segment, Irish Bill's Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings. We had a lot of movement last week.
Sure did.
With a couple of losses by two teams that were near the top. The 2 and 3 team both moved down to 6 and 7. And a big rise out of Mosley and Crestview this past week. Niceville comes in at number 1 still after they beat Fort Walton 45-8. Mosley beats Arnold 42-14. They put up 42 for the third straight game and have only given up 14 points. Crestview all over Ambassadors Christian 62-0. Milton takes out Navarre 18-13. West Florida, they're in at the number 5 spot as they beat Tate 44-0. Escambia lost to Cairo, Georgia 21-7, and we already talked about Navarre's loss to Milton. So there's your top 7 in the large schools. Now to move over to the smaller schools, not much change here. In fact, there was no movement at all. Everybody stayed exactly where they were. Baker gets their first game, and I got to talk about this young man before we move down to him. It was very close to selecting this young man as our player of the week, offensive player of the week. Caleb Wagner, the running back for Baker. Those that don't know the story on Caleb Wagner is he's missing his right hand. Very strong running back. He only carried the ball 4 times last week. You know how many yards he gained on those 4 carries? 267 yards.
Man.
And you know how many times he scored on those 4 carries?
All 4 times.
All 4 times. So 267 yards on 4 carries and 4 touchdowns for the young man from Baker. That's why they still are my top team.
Yeah,
Bills.
The Wagner name, they've had a couple generations play football there at Baker.
And this young man is solid. He's an underclassman as well. They beat Rocky Bayou 49-13. Sneed's another strong win last week over Graceville 35-7. South Walton was idle last week. They stay at 2-0. Bloodstown moves to 3-0 with a shutout over Mariana. Catholic 1-2 gets their first win on the season as they beat St. Stanislaus, Mississippi 29-14. Freeport moves to 3-0. It sets up a big matchup this week. I believe they are going to be facing off with Sneed's this week. I think that's what they're matched up. We'll look at that as we come to the games here in a little bit. And Port St. Joe was idle last week as well as they stay in at number 7. Our offensive player of the week, speaking of Freeport, quarterback Ashton Nunes went 23 of 33 for 278 yards and 6 touchdowns and a 47-34 win over Holmes County. And our defensive player, not too far from here, Choctaw's linebacker Nick Ruiz collected 16 tackles, 12 solo, 4 assists, and the Indians' surprising 31-7 win over Childs.
The Indians may be back.
So congratulations goes out to both Ashton Nunes from Freeport and Nick Ruiz from Choctaw High. We had some great performances. I even tossed in some Leon County teams, Big Bend schools in here in my stats, and you can go on IrishBillSports.com and check my blog section, and it lists all the accomplishments. We're not going to go over each one of them, but we have had, it seems like every week in and week out, we have these young men getting it done on the field of play.
And it seems like sometimes it's different ones in different places.
Yeah, we'll go over I'm going to give you the top ones in each category. Quarterback from Maclay, Michael Grant, 22 of 31, 319 yards, 4 touchdowns. Our top wide receiver from Holmes County, Jake Riley, 9 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Our top running back we just talked about with Caleb Wagner. Our top defensive player, we have a couple of them with 16 tackles each. Travis Nelson from Northview, Joseph Carpenter from Bozeman. We talked about this young man last year a couple of times. Tracker Thomaston. Great name for a football player, isn't it? Tracker, and especially a defensive back.
Right.
And all 3 of those with 16 tackles. And Mosley's Jonathan Harris went 6 for 6 on extra points. And there's your leaders in each category. And but once again, your top 7 for the large schools, Niceville has kind of locked that down for right now. They're at 1. Mosley jumps up to 2. Crestview 3. Milton 4. West Florida 5. Escambia 6. Navarre drops to 7. Small schools, Baker, Sneed, South Walton, Bluntstown, Catholic, Freeport, and Port St. Joe. And our offensive player of the game, once again, Ashton Nunes from Freeport. And our defensive player of the game from Choctaw, Nick Ruiz. And that is a recap of all, well, not yet because we still got to go over the scores. But you can look at all the names on IrishBillSports.com and also on my Facebook group page, Irish Bills Twist on Sports, and list all the schools. I mean, we track from here on over to the Big Bend region, so we try to get as much recognition to all the athletes, all the football players from here, from the Alabama-Florida line all the way over to Madison County.
Well, they have bridges, I heard.
Yeah. Wasn't that a book? Wasn't that a movie?
Right near Boot Hill.
Boot Hill. That's the name of their stadium, Boot Hill.
Yep.
So I'd love to get over there for a
I do
game
too.
sometime.
Yeah.
We'll have to. That is quite of a haul, though. That's about a 250-mile drive over to Madison County. So maybe one night we could maybe spend a night with Brady over in Tallahassee and go over and catch the game. But we don't have too many open Friday nights.
No. Nope. October 1st, I believe we do, but
We'll see what that night brings. But I finally was able to track down the state rankings this morning before I went off to work, and they just released this morning. And Class 8A, Venice, the number one team with 8 first-place votes. We moved down to 7A, where we got quite a few teams here in the area in 7. St. Thomas Aquinas, number 1. They got 6 first-place votes. Dillard's at number 2. They got 3. Lakeland comes in at 3. Niceville, the highest-rated team in Class 7A from the Panhandle. They're in at number 4. Buchholz at 5. Tampa Bay Tech at 6. Edgewater 7. Spruce Creek at 8. Armwood at 9. Gaither at 10. And Crestview gets an honorable mention nod there in 7A. And 6A, Jesuit, Miami Northwestern, Riverside, Jones, Naples. Lincoln comes in at number 6. Lake Minneola at number 7. Hillsboro at 8. Dunbar at 9. And a team we're familiar with, St. Augustine at number 10. Honorable mentions go out to Rickards and Mosley. Mm-hmm. And Class 5A, Miami Central.
Of course.
When aren't they up there? Even
with
with the
losses.
1-2 record, they're actually the top 2 teams in 5A both have 2 losses. American Heritage Plantation and Miami Central 1-2. Miami Killian 3, Rockledge 4. Rains comes in at 5, and a team we've seen play this year already, West Florida. They come in at number 6. Baker County got a Glen St. Marie. Satellite comes in at 8. Sebring at 9. Suwannee, where Coach Walls got his first head coaching experience, and that's also where our photographer Tammy Norton graduated from, was Suwannee.
Yeah, the Miami Central and Plantation teams, I believe they played some nationally ranked USA teams.
Yeah, Miami Central went out and played Mater Dei, which is the number 1 team in the country, and they got kind of handed to them. Mm-hmm. And but those were some of their losses. We moved down to 4A. They only do 5 teams in the top 5. So in 4A, Cardinal Gibbons 1, Gulliver Prep 2, Bowles out of Jacksonville 3, Cocoa 4, Lakewood 5. No area teams in 4A. In 3A, Chaminade Madonna, Miami Edison, which is going to be making a visit to Niceville later on in this season.
Wow.
So they're number 2 in Class 3A. Berkeley Prep, Florida High in at number 4. Clearwater in at number 5. In Class 2A, Trinity Christian, Champagnat Catholic, Champagnat.
Yeah, Champagnat.
Okay, we'll go with that one as well. Foundation Academy at 3, University Christian at 4. University Christian has only losses to Madison County. And First Baptist comes in at 5. Honorable mentions go to Monroe and St. John Paul II out of Tallahassee in the Tallahassee area. And down in 1A, Madison County comes in at number 1. Baker comes in at number 2. Wildwood 3. Hawthorne 4. Fort Meade at 5. Port St. Joe and Bluntstown with honorable mentions. And well represented in the Panhandle.
I think Bluntstown got some votes in the Georgia top 10, too.
They're 2-0 in Georgia.
Yeah, that's right.
But great job by Coach Bo Johnson. Always love talking with Coach Bo. Great job he does over there at Bluntstown.
He ain't afraid to go anywhere.
No. And being also in the location that they are in, they're not too far from Georgia to the south, South Georgia. so they can make that little trip up across I-10 and into Georgia. So not too far. There's still a little bit of a haul.
Coach Bo is still one of my favorite guests that you had on the Saturday show. The day of their championship game, hours before they were to play, you guys had him on. He came on and probably would have talked up until game time if you had let him. But
that was the game against Madison County when they played in the championship game. It was all Madison County that night, but they did put up 35, and they got a great performance from Trayvon Smith, who is now currently on the Florida A&M's team, but he broke the state record in rushing yards for a game against Madison County, but they lost 70-35. You score 35 and you still get beat by 35.
The over and under would have been interesting.
Most definitely. And now it's time to get to our high school picks once again. We tied last week, Bob. We both went 17-7. And it was mostly we picked all the same wrong ones. We had a couple different. You went with St. Stanislaus, Mississippi over Catholic. I went with Catholic. You went with Chipley. I went with Bozeman. Chipley pulled that one out. Mm-hmm. We both missed the Milton-Navarre game. Georgia and Cairo and Escambia. Lincoln and Bartram Trail, they came from way back to win that game.
Sure did.
We missed the Freeport and Holmes County game. Rickards, we got right. Godby, another tough loss on the road in Georgia. And Thomas County takes out another Florida team. And then we lost the Weewaw and Rutherford game as Rutherford eked out a 13-12 win. So we go 17-7. Overall, you still lead me by 2 games after your great performance last week. 55-14. I'm 53-16. There's our talk about from last week. Now it's time to pick some games going into this week.
He's licking his fingers like
time to get out. We all remember that the pen is mightier than the sword.
The pen.
And it's time to pull out our picks this week. I look for Navarre to get back under the winning ways against Tate and go 1-0 in District 1 7A.
I think Navarre's going to come out fired up and win this game handily, but they've got to start fast and not even a little bit last year. At the end of last year, they had difficulty scoring in the first quarter.
Most definitely. And of their 41 points that they have scored this year, 34 are in the second half.
Oof.
And then next we move over, I think is going to be a very interesting game in Crestview out there in Bulldog land. Crestview 3-0 hosting Rickards out of Tallahassee. And I know the GOAT's not going to like this pick, but I am going with the Raiders of Rickards in this one.
The Raiders of Rickards, formerly called the Redskins. I'm going to go with the home team, the Bulldogs.
Okay. Next we move over to Fulton. Normally this game would be played at the end of the year. It was
correct.
County rival. It's separated by about 5 miles, if that.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Choctaw 2-1 heading to Fort Walton Beach 0-3. Fort Walton Beach having a little trouble getting things going on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to go with the Indians to go to 3-1 in this one.
I'll go with Choctaw.
Next we move over, I think it's going to be another interesting matchup. Gulf Breeze 3-0 heading to Milton. Milton with 3 of their first 4 games at home to start the season. Lost to Crestview to start the season. Then have won their last 2 games on the road at Catholic. Then last week against Navarre. I look for Milton to give Gulf Breeze their first loss on the season.
I agree. What I saw out of Milton.
Next we head over to Pace. Niceville 3-0 heading over to Pace 1-1. It is a district matchup. But I think Niceville will outclass Pace in this one.
Absolutely. Niceville.
Arnold 0-3 heading to West Florida. Another mismatch here. The Jaguars in this one big.
Going with the Cats.
Washington 1-1 as Escambia. Always a tough matchup between these two teams. Escambia has shown signs that struggling a little bit on offense last week. Washington has had a week off. But being played at Emmett Smith Field over at Escambia High. I am going to go with the home team in this one.
I, too. One of the oldest rivalries in Northwest Florida, Escambia and Washington.
You know, it was an interesting fact that I did not know last week on the broadcast. That was the 100th year of Milton High School.
I think I heard that. That's amazing.
I think there's only one school that's been there longer, and that would be
Pensacola High.
Where your wife graduated from.
Yep.
And I'm going to go Pine Forest on the road at Pensacola. Not much of a matchup here. Pensacola really down this year.
Who did Pensacola win against?
They, I think it was, all I have to do is look, because I got all of them right here. Pensacola won. There two.
On-air production here.
Yeah, you got to love it, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Pensacola.
They lost to
Lost to Pace. They're 0-3. Pensacola's 0-3.
Yeah,
I got. So you got 0-1 Pine Forest. Only played one game so far at 0-3 Pensacola. I'm going to go with the Eagles here.
Me as well.
Lincoln 2-1. What a great comeback! This is going to be a really solid game over in Panama City, facing off 3-0 Mosley. I like Mosley, but I think Lincoln, off their tough win over on the road at Bartram Trail last week, a very tough place to play. I think Lincoln has the momentum going into this one.
I'm going to go with Mosley at home.
Okay. Going with the Dolphins.
I think the Lincoln is going to have a little bit of a letdown.
Godby 2-1 heading to Wakulla, 1-1. Always a tough place to play down in Crawfordville. I am going to go with Godby in this one on the road.
Too. Yep.
South Walton get back on the field, and they're traveling up to Baker. Should be a great game Friday night. If we didn't have a game, I would go up to that game and watch that one because that would be pretty solid between South Walton and Baker.
And it's going to be a lot of points scored, potentially. I'm going to go with Baker at home. Sorry, Phil Tiza, we love you, brother.
It's tough to root against Baker at home. Well, it's tough to root against Baker anywhere.
Anytime.
But it's really tough to root Baker, and I'm not going to be the one that roots against them. And South Walton, great program that looks like they have been playing a little bit of defense here early on in the season. Great supporting cast there with Kemper Hodges at quarterback, Pierce Sperling, the tight end, and Cade Roberts, the state's leading receiver last year, the whole state of Florida last year.
You know, it could be close early. South Walton has got to stop the run game of Baker. There's no question. I don't care who you put back there, whether it's the Wagner kid or somebody else. You've got to and dare Baker to throw the ball, load the box up, and I think that's the only way that you might be able to beat Baker. But even then, you know, they've always had backs that run hard. Coaches them, you know, hard and run hard. So I think Baker will win, maybe by 10, maybe.
That's a good observation there, Bob. Next, we got another great matchup. This is a week of great matchups. Bluntstown 3-0 heading to Freeport. So they're going to head over on I-20 into Freeport and take on the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs and the Tigers going to hook up into Freeport on the Friday night, both 3-0 on the season. Ashton Noon's leading the way, and a bunch of new faces in Bluntstown. And they won't get you with one individual. They'll beat their total team effort by Coach Bo Johnson. This is going to be a great matchup. I think Bluntstown has just a little too much in this one. They are a little banged up, but I'm going to go with the Tigers on the road.
I agree.
Next, Cottondale off to a very slow 0-2 start, going to Bozeman. I'm going to go with the Bucks in this one.
Go Bucks.
I'm going to head over to Chipley, having a nice season. Vernon struggling. I'm going to go. Normally, these are the only two teams in Washington County.
That's correct. The Battle of Washington County.
And this is a county rivalry game. Vernon got the best of them last year, but I think Chipley's going to win this one.
Didn't you go to a Vernon Chipley game?
I did, and they beat them 34-6 or 34-8, something like that, last couple seasons ago. But I'm going to go with Chipley on the road in this one. You sticking by my side?
Chipley also.
Chipley?
Yep.
North Bay Haven heading over to Graceville. Both teams looking for their first win. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in this one, North Bay Haven, to get their first win on the season.
I'll go also with the Buccaneers having COVID issues in their schools.
If Baker falters at all, this is a team that's going to take over that top spot. Sneed's off to a very impressive 3-0 start, taking on Holmes County 2-1. I look for Sneed's to run away with this one.
Sneed's for me.
Jay 0-3 heading into Alabama. Face a Sweetwater team that's 4-0. I kind of like the name Sweetwater High School, so I'm going to go with a little Sweetwater here on Friday night.
Jay had a tough week. They lost one of their coaches to COVID on their coaching staff. I don't know if it was the head coach or not. I'm not sure. But hats off to them for continuing to play. Go up to Alabama, and that's your reward. I'll go with Sweetwater.
Rutherford 1-1 heading to Mariana. A Mariana team that's been shut out twice but knocked off North Florida Christian. So which Mariana team is going to show up? I'm going to go with the one that scores points this week.
I think Mariana is just too much for Rutherford.
Escambia County, Alabama, 4-0 heading to Northview. It's not too far of a road trip for them.
Nope.
It's just across the border. Mm-hmm. And I think they just have too much for Northview this week.
Their school mascot, that's where I was. That's in Atmore, Alabama. The Blue Devils.
The Blue Devils.
The Blue Devils.
So the Blue Devils and the Chiefs. Okay, next we got Port St. Joe heading to Weewa. Port St. Joe having another solid season behind quarterback Cole Amison. And I look for the Tiger Sharks to get it done again this Friday.
Great place to play in Weewa. I've refereed some games there. Nice little stadium, but I'm going to go with the Sharks.
Okay, next we're going to head over to St. Francis Christian, which I believe is in St. Augustine, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. And so Rocky Bayou's got a long road trip this week, but they are facing an 0-3 team, and I look for Rocky Bayou to get their second win.
I'll go with the Knights.
Walton 2-1 heading to Maclay, 1-1. Walton's got a lot of offense. Maclay is tough, stingy on defensive side of the ball. This should be a pretty good matchup. I'm going to go with Walton on the road.
Yeah, Walton lost to South Walton in the Battle of Walton County. I'm going to go with the Braves.
Next we got Madison County heading to Childs. Childs really down this year, and I look for this one I'm going to look for it to get out of hand rather early. Madison County all over Childs.
Running clock probably in that game.
Liberty County 2-1, heading to Cottondale. Actually, no, we already talked about Cottondale. This is next week's game, I believe. We'll skip over that one. I must have not deleted some from last week. I didn't. These are last week's games, so we've already picked.
I can tell you who won.
I'm sure you can. No, the bottom one is a new one. Mm-hmm. Monroe Day 3-0 at St. John Paul II. I like Monroe Day getting it done, still unbeaten.
I agree. Monroe.
And the Liberty County, see if that was one we didn't pick. That is a new one as well. So Liberty County and Franklin County, I'm going to go with Liberty County in that one.
Yep.
And I think we got Gadsden County. Yep. Those are our final picks. So the only way to find out how we do and see who won, this guy or this guy, is to tune in next Wednesday night.
7 losses.
That's a bad week for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and take our second commercial break. We'll be back and we'll do our college picks and let you know how those turned out from last week. Irish Bill's Twist on Sports here at Culver's in downtown Navarre. Seminole Bob, Irish Bill. We'll be back once again after these words from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, Before Field to Fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks Navarre Raider Quarterback Club for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, Week 4 here at Culver's in downtown Navarre. Year number 5 that I've been over here at Culver's. The first 3 years, I believe I've been doing this for 8 years. The first 3 years was over at the Twist. Derek and Julie Prevett used to be the sponsor of their show. We did the show from over there. But we've been over here at Culver's now for 5 years, and the last 3 years have been on video.
We still have people still watch us.
I know. I don't know why Joe tunes in every week. I mean, but we thank Joe, my good friend Joe over in Niceville.
I wonder if Joe's going to make the trip to Pace.
I'm sure. I don't know. Because I believe Joe lives in Crestview, if I remember right. So it's not too bad a drive for him. Just go over 90 on 90 all the way over to Pace and catch the game, or if he's going to come out and maybe catch our game. Who knows? Joe's been known to be somewhere on a Friday night for high school football.
You're always welcome, Joe.
Yeah, we'll make some room for you. Unless we're inside, then it's going to be a little crowded.
Whew. Yeah, the weather. I think that front.
Joe brought up a good point on our YouTube Live chat. The weather is going to play a factor in a lot of games coming up Friday night, and it'll be interesting. We could see some sloppy games on
Hopefully
Friday
there won't
night.
be too many. There won't be any boom booms because then you go into a long wait and maybe cancel games. So,
Okay, enough talk about high school. Let's move over to college now. Yours truly takes out Bob last week. I went 17-6. Bob goes 15-8. Kind of a rough week, Bob. So
I changed one of my picks to the Iowa State game. I just had this was supposed to be Iowa State's year.
Hit you like a cyclone.
Yeah.
But anyways, we did the majority of our losses were the same. We both lost the Ohio State or Oregon, as most people did in that one. The Iowa State game, we both lost. We both took App State, and Miami pulls one out there at home in a close one. We both took NC State at Mississippi State, and they actually played defense last week. Arkansas all over Texas last week, 40-21. We lost that one, as a lot of people did, and no one saw the Jacksonville State game over Florida State on the last play of the game. Broken down coverage in the secondary by the Seminoles, but I did see BYU at home against Utah, and that was our lone different game after that. And then we both lost as USC just laid an egg at home, and the benefactor of that loss is one Clay Helton, as he is now looking for a new job. So
yeah, a lot of rumors about Lane Kiffin going back, or Matt, coach of Iowa State.
Matt Campbell. There's even been some James Franklin thrown out there as well, but I think Franklin is starting to get things turned around at Penn State. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Urban Meyer said he's definitely staying with the NFL.
And there's one coach that has been looking for a head coaching job for a little while, and I think it's about due, is Eric Bieniemy, the coordinator for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I look for him possibly maybe to be a name thrown in there as well, as he played at Colorado. So Colorado is now in the Pac-12 as well.
How about Bob Stoops?
Bob Stoops out of retirement?
Well,
or did he ever really retire?
Well, I think he was some type of special coach or something at Oklahoma.
An analyst or
some kind of consultant.
So well, there's our games. With the 2-game lead now heading into this week, 42-14, Bob 40-16. And now let's break out our schedule for this week. In our first game, we got a couple of Friday night games. UCF heading up to Louisville. I'm going to go with the Knights on the road.
Favored by 5. I'm going to go with the Knights.
Maryland, Fear the Turtle, heading to Illinois to face off with Coach Brett Bielema.
Mm-hmm.
Bert, as a lot of people call him. I'm going with the Terrapins on the road. I'm going with both home teams, visiting teams this week.
Go Turtles.
Now we're going to head over to Saturday, Coastal Carolina, going on to Buffalo. Buffalo, a big loss last week. Coastal Carolina, a big win against Kansas on the road.
Right.
I know it's Kansas, but still. I'm going with another road team in this one. I'm going with Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, I think they're favored by a bunch. I'm going to go with the Chanticleers.
And now a big matchup. Cincinnati 2-0 in the top 10. Facing off with Indiana at Indiana Memorial Stadium, and 1-1. The Hoosiers rebounded last week with a big solid win. Cincinnati's 2-0. I am going to go with the Hoosiers in the upset.
I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
And Luke Fickell looking to stay in the top 10 and go to 3-0. Mm-hmm. Not a bad pick there. Michigan State heading down to Miami Gardens to take on Miami of Florida, 1-1. Michigan State is looking impressive in their first 2 games of the season. a tough place to play down there in Miami. I'm actually going to go with another road team here and go with Sparty.
Yeah, Miami lost to Alabama. Then they kind of had a hangover against App State. That's not a bad pick. I'm going to go with Michigan State on the road.
Okay, next we got Virginia Tech traveling over to West by God, Virginia. And 1-1 Virginia Tech 2-0. This should be a pretty good matchup. I haven't seen the line on this one.
I think West Virginia's favored by 3 in this game.
Hokies have been looking good here early on.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia played a I don't know what, LIU Post last week, Long Island University Post.
Wow.
I'm going to go with West Virginia, the home team in this one, in a very close game.
I'm going to go with the Hokies. I found out I have a teacher friend.
I've noticed, Bob, you've taken all 6 road teams so far.
That's correct.
Interesting.
I have a teacher I teach with, his first year at Emerald Coast, Pete. I think his last name is Toronto. I think his first name is Pete. And he had a big Notre Dame. He had a helmet in his classroom, and he had the Play Like a Champion Today banner. And I said, and he's a big dude, about 6'6". He's hitting 3 bills maybe, but not really fast.
Don't hit this bill.
Yeah. I said, did you play at Notre Dame? And he said, no, I played at West Virginia under Don Nehlen.
Don Nehlen.
He played offensive right guard. But sorry, Pete, I can't pick. I'm going to go with the Hokies.
Next, we've got the old big matchup between the Big 8 matchup between Nebraska and Oklahoma. Both teams have gone different directions since those days, and Oklahoma will win big in this one.
I think they're favored by 18.5 or 20 points or more.
Not enough.
I'm going to go with the Sooner or Laters.
Next, we have 2 undefeated teams. New Mexico traveling to Texas A&M. A&M's offense has not looked good, and they lost their quarterback last week.
Saw that.
So New Mexico could give them a battle early on, but in the end, too much Texas A&M.
I'm going to go with the Aggies.
Next, we're going with the Battle of Indiana on Saturday. Purdue heading over to Notre Dame. Both teams 2-0. Notre Dame's pulled out a tough one last week. Gutsy performance by their quarterback, Jack Cohen, in the last drive. Dislocates his a finger on his throwing hand. Goes to the sideline. Asks the trainer to reset it. He goes back in and throws the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, depending on how it was, because, you've got nerves in there. And when I took athletic training classes at Florida State, they said, you've got be careful about setting fingers because you could have nerve damage. So, obviously, if you're a trainer at Notre Dame, you know what the heck you're doing. So, interesting on this, Bill, is the line's only 5, I believe.
Yeah, it's been dropping all week. It started at 8, I believe. Then it dropped to 7. Now it's down to 5.
I can't go against my second favorite team and your favorite team, the Catholics. I think it's going to be a close game, maybe even a field goal game. And again, depending on how the weather is and where it's at, it could play a factor. But I'll go with the Catholics at home.
The Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech. Have you heard that one in a while?
I have not, but I have been right down the road to the varsity. What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? What do you have?
They're heading over to Clemson, Death Valley. It's going to be a long day for Georgia Tech.
Clemson's still licking their wounds after the loss to Georgia.
But they got things right last week against South Carolina State.
Yeah.
The alma mater of one Navarre coach, Tony Carter.
Tony Carter. I'm going to go with the Tigers at home.
Alabama 2-0 heading to Gainesville. I want to pick Florida in this one, but they just don't have enough to beat Bama. I'm going with Bama in this one.
So the owner of the station is an Alabama fan.
Big.
Yeah. And a number of employees are Florida fans. I think Robbie Shanks is a Florida fan, I think.
Yes, he is.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Elephants.
I thought you were going to slip one in there on me, Bob. Tulsa 0-2 going out to Ohio State. I feel sorry for the Golden Hurricanes in this one. Ohio State is going to run rampant on them.
Bad place to play Ohio State after a loss like they did against Oregon. At times, Oregon made them look bad.
And here in the next game, I got to start to question your fandom here in a little bit. But Florida State 0-2 going to Wake Forest 2-0. I look for the Demon Deacons to win this one.
I mean, I think it's a good pick. I think it's the line's 3 or 5. Florida State.
They need a W.
Never plays well there in. Is it not Winston-Salem? Is it?
Yes.
Is it Winston-Salem?
Winston-Salem.
The Demon Deacons name the sport, and Florida State struggles against them.
A solid basketball program at Wake Forest.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Seminoles. I think this is a bounce-back game. I hope they've figured out how to play prevent defense.
Our next game, Kent State 1-1, traveling to Iowa, and Iowa looking strong here. Two ranked victories in their first 2 games against Indiana and Iowa State.
Exactly, and I think that's huge. When have you heard that somebody else other than Ohio State or Michigan, that matter, but mostly Ohio State recently, other than Ohio State, had been picked to win the conference? And Iowa, in a lot of people's picks, are a potential college football playoff team. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes here at home.
Okay, next we're going to head out to Pullman, Washington. The one fandom of Pac-12 Dave facing on USC with interim head coach. 1-1 USC at 1-1 Washington State. I think USC is going to open a little can of something on Saturday.
I'm going to go with the Trojans.
Let's move on to Colorado State, really struggling. They're going to face off a very, as we saw, stingent Toledo team. I look for Colorado State to not pull this one out either. So Dante Wright will go to 0-3 in his junior season.
I'm going to go with the Rockets.
As Colorado State lost to Vanderbilt.
I watched part of that game.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, it was.
South Carolina heading to Georgia. A couple of years ago, South Carolina pulled the upset. Not this time.
I don't think so. Georgia potentially has a showdown with Alabama for the SEC title. I think the Bulldogs are going to win this football game.
Okay, next we're going to head out to California as San Diego State. The Aztecs will be hosting the Utes of Utah, 1-1. Lost to BYU last week. I look for Utah to get back on the winning ways in this one.
I'm going with the Utes. Utes.
Virginia 2-0 heading to North Carolina 1-1.
Oof.
North Carolina favored in this one.
They are. And I did.
Cavaliers went in there last year and beat. If I remember right, knocked off North Carolina.
They sure did. Man.
I think how they kind of got on track last week against a lesser opponent. I look for UNC to pull this one out in a very close game.
I'm going to go with the Tar Heels.
It's Stony Brook.
Who?
Stony Brook. Guess where they're going?
What's their nickname?
They're going clear across the country to face off Oregon after Oregon fresh off their Ohio State upset victory. Stony Brook, I am not sure what their nickname is. Do you know?
Coach, watch a little bit of the Florida State game against Jacksonville State. don't take any team lightly. I think Oregon is going to – I think it potentially, believe it or not, could be close early. I don't think there's a line on the game. But you can't look ahead. You can't look behind. Coach has got a tough, game when you have a huge win. Probably one of the biggest wins since the Marcus Mariota days at Oregon.
The Seawolves.
You can't have a letdown. If this was anybody else but Stony Brook, it could be a trap game. I don't see it.
The Seawolves.
Seawolves.
Stony Brook.
Seawolves. Okay. Seawolves against the Ducks.
Yeah. Next, we got Tulane, who's putting up a lot of points this year at Ole Miss. This could be one of those downright shootouts.
Could be. Lane Kiffin will be back, I believe, on the sidelines after contracting COVID. I think it's a field goal game. I think Tulane's going to give them a heck of a matchup. Some of the ugliest uniforms next to Iowa State is Tulane, the Green Wave. I'm going to go with Ole Miss at home to go to 3-0.
Rice 0-2 at Texas 1-1. Texas trying to bounce back, and I think they will in this one. Arizona State heading to BYU, a battle. This should be an interesting game. It's why we play the game.
That's why. And Arizona State is favored on the road.
Ooh, the Sun Devils, correct? BYU tough in Provo.
Gosh, I know. I'm going to go with Coach on the road.
So Bob's going to go with Arizona State. I am going to join him with Arizona State.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against him.
It's
like picking
one of my
against
favorite
Coach
coaches.
Bo.
I remember watching him play
Yep.
in the NFL.
Yep.
One heck of a defensive back. But I'm going to go with Herm Edwards and Arizona State. Now, Iowa State trying to bounce back, and they'll get their chance at UNLV.
Now, they benched Purdy in the Iowa game. Coach Campbell said that Purdy is our man. He's certainly going to stick with him. And when you play UNLV, I mean,
They're UNLV.
Yeah, I mean, if you and I had eligibility, Coach might consider me. Probably wouldn't, but I think Coach Campbell gets it done on the road.
And then we finish off with Fresno State, a very tough Bulldog team there, heading to UCLA to take on the 2-0 UCLA Bruins. Bruins off to a real good start fresh off of their victory over LSU, an 11-point game for the Bruins. I think this one's going to be tighter than what people think, but I think
so.
the Bruins will pull it off in the end.
I do too. Chip goes to 3-0, I guess, for the first time since he's been there.
And it could that name pop up at USC, just go right across.
Oh, man.
Chip Kelly go right across the city.
Across town, yeah.
To USC.
Ooh.
Another name to throw out there. Well, there's our college games, and like I said, with the high school games, the only way that you're going to find out who won between Bob and I is to tune in next Wednesday night. And let's go over and recognize we're not going to go over and what they've done, but you can go out and my site and check out the results. But former Navarre Raiders, where they are now, Michael Carter got his first start last week for the Jets. Unfortunately, they lost in that one. They even threw in a baseball player now, but he was a former Navarre Raider football player. Outfielder Michael Sandel for the Houston Astros low A ball, the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. He's off to a great start in his rookie season. 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 286 average, and an 892 OPS. Michael Sandel playing a little low A pro ball now for the Houston Astros organization. Auburn's Nick Brahms, the senior there, they'll be on the road in Happy Valley. Bo Herring from Maryville, they'll be taking on Methodist this weekend. Huntington College, we got 7 players at Huntington College from Navarre. Mark Struck, Darrell Hickson, Garrett Schluter. Tyler England, unfortunately, is out as he had surgery. And we got a couple more freshmen in there, Bailey Houston and Meke Domino. Jabari Mitchell are at Huntington as well. They'll be facing off at Brevard this weekend. West Virginia's Jordan Jefferson. They'll be playing Virginia Tech, a big game coming up. Dante Wright on the road at Toledo. Lake Erie College junior Omari Green. I think he's being redshirted this year. They're 2-0 on the season. They'll be facing off against McKendree University this Saturday. Eastern Tennessee State, the University wide receiver Quinn Cavallero. They're 2-0. They'll be taking on Delaware State. Josh Carter for South Alabama out with a medical red shirt. University of Louisiana long snapper James Seagrass. They're taking on Ohio University this week. Harding defensive line Mitchell Hunt. They'll be playing at Southern Arkansas. And North Carolina Wesleyan Meke Domino and Zachary Marquise. They're 0-2 on the season. They'll be facing off against Brevard this week, I think, as well. And Valdosta State, Elijah Melendez getting into a couple of ball games already as a true freshman for Valdosta State. They'll be hosting Albany State this week. Muskingum University, Ohio, wide receiver Evan Macon. I got another one. I got a text from his mom last week to let me know that he was up there playing. They're 2-0, and they'll be facing off at Marietta this week. And then Field of Dreams Prep School, Jaden Rivera getting it done there with the Field of Dreams down in the Tampa area. So a lot of Raiders playing football elsewhere, and the one playing baseball as well.
And if we missed someone, give Bill or I send us an email, and we'll be glad to include them, whether it be football, baseball,
whatever they're playing now,
gymnastics, field hockey, whatever it is. We'll be glad to showcase them, highlight them.
Next, we're going to move over to the Gulf South Conference, and 6 teams are still unbeaten at 2-0. Delta State, North Greenville, Valdosta State, West Florida, West Alabama, West Georgia, Shorter 1-1, Mississippi College 0-1. Results last week: West Alabama over Tuskegee 33-7, Valdosta State over Virginia Union 51-7, West Georgia over Morehouse College 47. That's where Miles will be playing this week. UWF all over Southwest Baptist in their only on-campus home game of the season because there was a conflict with the Blue Wahoos baseball last weekend. So they won 63-14 over Southwest Baptist. Wow. North Greenville over Newberry 24-14. Delta State over McKendree University 45-17. Albany State over Shorter 28-12. At least Shorter got on the board in that one.
Yep.
The Week 3 schedule: North American University going to West Alabama. Shorter University heading over to Atlanta to take on Clark Atlanta. University of Fort Lauderdale must be a new school I'm not familiar with. They'll taking on Mississippi College. Delta State at West Georgia, and the only conference matchup of the weekend, West Florida at Texas A&M Commerce. That should be a great game over there in Texas. Mm-hmm. A matchup of, I think, national title team from 2018 or 17. I think it's 17.
Yep.
And North Greenville traveling to the Citadel, and Albany State at Valdosta State.
And you know what Delta State's nickname is?
Yes.
I bet you do.
The Statesmen.
The Fighting Okras.
They used to be. Now they're the Statesmen.
Really?
They are.
They changed their name.
They are the Statesmen. And have you ever been over to Cleveland, Mississippi?
No.
It's tucked up in the very far north corner of Mississippi, almost in Arkansas.
They call it the Golden Triangle.
Yeah, and we went up there for a game when Brady played as Shorter. It's a long haul from here.
I bet.
And it was a night game, so we didn't leave out of there till like 10:30 at night. Brenda had to work the next day, so we got back in at like 5:30 Sunday morning. It was a very, very long day in the last 2 hours of that trip. I don't know if you know the roads in Mississippi are not like the roads in Florida. There are a lot of back roads in Mississippi, and that was a long drive back. But,
You were seeing purple elephants and pink bananas.
I don't know what I was seeing that night, but it was. I think a couple of knots later, we finally made it home at like 5:30 in the morning. But some of the great places that we went to, I mean, I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to jump on over to the SIAC games last weekend. Benedict over Edward Waters, 44-3. Southern over Miles, 41-24. Miles played them tough. Another step up, the Division I AA opponent for Miles. Florida A&M 34-7 over Fort Valley State. Central State over Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, 19-7. Kentucky Wesleyan knocks off Kentucky State, 26-25. We'd already talked about the West Alabama game. Lane College over at Clark Atlanta, 35-26. Savannah State over Livingstone College, 50-6. And then we already talked about the last two games coming up. This week's schedule: Lane University at Fort Valley State, Shorter University at Clark Atlanta, Central State at Shaw University, Kentucky State at Tennessee State. Interesting matchup. Eddie George is the head coach at Tennessee State.
That's right.
I believe it's Tennessee State. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Waters at Tuskegee, Miles at Morehouse College, Benedict at Savannah State, and Albany State at Valdosta State. And that's going to put a wrap, but not before we go. You got anything to talk about tonight, Bob?
Other than the weather?
You're going to rant on the weather?
Yeah, no. Not really, other than I've been looking at the frozen custards tonight.
Oh,
I've been.
That was really, when I walked in the door, it's like it gets hard. People say that it gets easier when you're on a diet or a healthy living altering event, as I call it, life altering event. But it's tough some days. Mm-hmm. And you walk in here, especially with the frozen custard up there behind the counter, and some of the great treats that they have here at Culver's. But I think I'm going to end up probably sticking to the salad once again.
Yeah, I saw a guy carrying out a frozen chocolate custard. Of course, it's frozen.
And you're killing me, Bob.
And it just, it really looked good. No, my simple twisted take is for Navarre fans. Let's come out and support. You always do. This is going to be a big game.
Big district matchup.
It is, and Navarre needs to have a good, strong game on the field, but they need the fans, in the stands. If the weather's bad,
dress appropriately.
You could suck it up and attend. If not, guess what?
IrishBillsSports.com
or
YouTube Irish Bill Sports.
We may be the only ones there. Certainly Tate doesn't have radio. I don't think it's going to be a TV game by any stretch. There'll probably be Pensacola TV, probably at the Washington Escambia game. So my twisted take, bring your umbrella. If not, sit at home.
If not, we're going to be somewhere.
Not with a chair over our head, I hope.
No, well, we may be somewhere.
Inside? But come out and support the Raiders. They need it. They thrive off of it. And let's get a win.
We could possibly be up.
When this whole world starts getting me down and people are just too much for me to face, I climb way up to the top of the stairs and all my cares just drift right into space. On the roof it's peaceful as can be.
People probably wonder where we came up with that song, an old 60s song by the Drifters. Is when we went up and we started going up on the roof, I'm going to keep letting it play here in the background, is we went up on the roof and I said, I got the perfect song. And I pulled up on the roof of the Drifters, and it's been our song ever since. And so we try to get it out. We try to work it into our shows or in our broadcasts every once in a while.
So if it's a nice night, we may see you at the stadium on the roof. if it's not a nice night,
We'll be inside.
we'll be inside trying to stay dry. We've had our share of rain already this year, so
Yes, we have, and we don't want to put chairs over our heads anymore.
not anymore.
That was a rough night start that game. But until Friday night, from Bennett C. Russell Stadium, where the Raiders look to get back in the W column, they'd be hosting their first district game against the Tate Aggies out of Gonzales/Cantonment, Florida, just north Pensacola, off 29. And it'll be a great matchup between these two programs. Navarro leads the series 3-2 overall, and looking for win number 4 against the Aggies in a big district game on Friday night. And hopefully we will be up on the roof. And until Friday night, this is Irish Bill signing off. Be well, folks.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.